September 30th, 2025. A magnitude 6.9 earthquake rips through Cebu. Buildings collapse. 79 people die. Thousands lose their homes. Families move into tent cities. They're just beginning to process the trauma, just starting to rebuild their lives. 5 weeks later, November 4th, 2025. Typhoon Tino barrels toward the same communities still living under canvas. The same families who lost everything to an earthquake now face evacuation for a typhoon. 163 families are being forced to evacuate again. They've lost everything twice in 35 days. This is Cebu's nightmare, and it reveals something terrifying about the Philippines' new reality. The morning of September 30th started like any other day in Bogo City, northern Cebu. Then at 10:37 a.m., the ground started shaking. The earthquake struck with devastating force. Magnitude 6.9, the strongest to hit Cebu in years. Buildings that survived decades of typhoons couldn't withstand 30 seconds of shaking. Homes collapsed, schools crumbled, markets fell apart. By the time the shaking stopped, 79 people were dead across Cebu and nearby provinces. Hundreds more were injured. Thousands of families suddenly had nowhere to live. The government and aid organizations moved quickly. Within days, tent cities appeared across northern Cebu. Emergency shelters for families whose homes were destroyed or too damaged to occupy. Bogo City became the center of the disaster. Rows of white tents stretched across open fields and parking areas. 163 families moved into these temporary shelters with whatever belongings they could salvage. These weren't meant to be permanent, just temporary housing while people figured out their next steps, while they applied for government assistance, while they tried to rebuild. The tents provided basic shelter, protection from sun and rain, but they were never designed for typhoon conditions. Canvas walls, lightweight frames, no real structural integrity, sitting in open areas with maximum wind exposure. For 5 weeks, these families tried to create some sense of normal life. Children did homework by flashlight. Parents cooked on portable stoves. Everyone shared communal bathrooms. They were traumatized. Many had watched neighbors die. Some had pulled relatives from rubble. Children had nightmares about buildings falling. But they were trying, making the best of an impossible situation, hoping things would get better. Then the typhoon warning started. On November 2nd, Pagasa began issuing bulletins about Typhoon Tino approaching the Philippines. The projected path showed it heading straight for the Visayas, straight for Cebu. For the tent city residents, the news was devastating. They were living in structures that couldn't withstand even moderate winds. Signal number 4 meant gusts up to 205 kilometers per hour. Their tents would be shredded in minutes. Elena Santos is one of the earthquake survivors living in a Bogo City tent camp. She lost her home on September 30th. 2 of her neighbors died when their building collapsed. For 5 weeks, she's been living with her 3 children in a tent meant for disaster relief, not long-term housing. When she heard about Typhoon Tino, she broke down crying. Local officials faced an impossible logistics challenge. 163 families needed immediate evacuation, but evacuation centers were already preparing for the broader community. Where would these families go? That's when something remarkable happened. Something that shows the resilience and compassion of Filipino communities, even in the worst circumstances. Neighbors who still had homes launched what they called the Adopt a Family program. Families with intact houses volunteered to take tent city residents into their homes for the duration of the typhoon. Complete strangers opening their doors to earthquake survivors they'd never met. Within 2 days, volunteers had arranged temporary housing for most of the tent city families. Some took in 1 family. Some took in 2 or 3. It wasn't ideal. Houses built for 1 family suddenly housing 8 or 10 people. But it was safe. Solid walls, real roofs, protection from the coming storm. But this created a painful reality. Earthquake survivors had to pack up again, leave the tents that had been home for 5 weeks, move again into temporary accommodation with strangers. For the second time in 35 days, these families were loading their belongings and relocating to emergency shelter. Children who just started feeling stable were uprooted again. Parents who'd just begun processing earthquake trauma now faced typhoon anxiety. Some families couldn't find host homes. They moved to official evacuation centers alongside thousands of other Cebu residents fleeing Typhoon Tino. By November 3rd, Cebu province had evacuated 6,137 people from 1,382 families. That includes the tent city residents, plus thousands more from vulnerable coastal and low-lying areas. 56 evacuation centers opened across 6 municipalities, schools, gymnasiums, community centers, all filling with families seeking safety. For earthquake survivors, being in these crowded evacuation centers triggered memories of the days immediately after September 30th. The same chaos, the same uncertainty, the same fear. This isn't just about Cebu. This is about cascading disasters becoming the new normal in the Philippines. Before Typhoon Tino, there was Typhoon Christine in October. Before Christine, there was Typhoon Leon. Before these tent city families experienced the earthquake, they'd survived multiple typhoons in previous years. The Philippines faces an average of 20 typhoons every year. It sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire with active earthquake faults throughout the archipelago. Disaster isn't rare here, it's constant. But what's changing is the frequency of major events. Climate change is making typhoons more intense. Warmer ocean temperatures fuel stronger storms. What used to be a major typhoon every 20 years now happens every 8 to 10 years. Earthquakes can't be predicted. Typhoons give a few days' warning. But when they hit the same communities in rapid succession, resilience has limits. How many times can families rebuild? How much trauma can communities absorb? What happens when there's no recovery period between disasters? The earthquake survivors in Cebu tents are living this reality. They lost their homes on September 30th. They're evacuating again on November 4th. When Typhoon Tino passes, they'll return to tent cities that may or may not still be standing. If the tents survived, they'll continue living under canvas. If not, they'll need new emergency shelter. Either way, they'll still be homeless, still waiting for permanent housing, still trying to rebuild from an earthquake while dealing with typhoon aftermath. And the next disaster? It's already forming somewhere in the Pacific, already building strength in the Philippine Sea, already heading toward communities that haven't finished recovering from the last catastrophe. Right now, as Typhoon Tino crosses the Visayas, those earthquake survivor families are huddled in strangers' homes or crowded evacuation centers. They're watching weather updates, listening to wind howl, wondering what they'll return to when the storm passes. Cebu province reported signal number 4 conditions. The Transcentral Highway, the main route across the island, is completely blocked by fallen trees and power lines. Communication with some areas has been cut off. The Dinagat Islands lost power completely. Full damage assessment won't be possible until tomorrow. For the tent city families, the waiting is agonizing. Did their tents survive? Are their few possessions still there? Will they return to nothing for the second time in 5 weeks? And there's a darker question that nobody wants to ask, but everyone's thinking. What if this becomes a pattern? What if there's another major disaster next month or the month after? How long can people keep evacuating? Keep losing everything? Keep starting over? The broader context makes this even more painful. The Philippines contributes less than half of 1% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Filipino families living in tents didn't cause climate change. They didn't warm the oceans that intensify typhoons. They didn't create the systems that make cascading disasters more frequent. But they're paying the price, losing homes to earthquakes, then evacuating for typhoons, then rebuilding, then evacuating again, in an endless cycle they didn't create and can't escape. Cebu's earthquake survivors show incredible resilience. They've organized themselves in tent cities. They've supported each other through trauma. They evacuated again when necessary. They'll rebuild again when Tino passes. But resilience shouldn't be necessary this often. Strength shouldn't be tested this relentlessly. Communities shouldn't have to prove their toughness by surviving disaster after disaster after disaster. The Adopt a Family program shows the best of Filipino culture. Neighbors helping neighbors. Communities taking care of their most vulnerable. Strangers becoming family in moments of crisis. This is Bayanihan, the Filipino spirit of communal unity. It's beautiful, it's powerful, it's inspiring, but it's also exhausting, and it shouldn't be required every few weeks. When Typhoon Tino passes and damage assessments begin, the world will see pictures of destruction, fallen trees, flooded streets, damaged buildings. What the world won't see are the earthquake survivors returning to whatever's left of their tent cities. Won't see families thanking their host neighbors and moving back under canvas. Won't see children trying to feel safe in a tent after experiencing both an earthquake and a typhoon in 5 weeks. Won't see the long-term psychological toll of repeated trauma. Won't see parents lying awake wondering when the next disaster will strike. Won't see communities trying to rebuild while already bracing for what comes next. This is the reality of cascading disasters in the Philippines. This is what climate change looks like on the ground. This is what happens when recovery time disappears and disasters stack on top of each other. 163 families lost their homes to an earthquake on September 30th. 35 days later, they evacuated for Typhoon Tino. When they return, they'll still be homeless, still traumatized, still waiting for stability that never seems to come. This is Cebu's nightmare, but it's becoming the Philippines' reality. Stay informed. If you want to help these families, donate to legitimate organizations like the Philippine Red Cross or DSWD. They're on the ground providing aid to both earthquake survivors and typhoon evacuees. For earthquake and typhoon updates, monitor Pagasa at pagasa.diwas.gov.ph and the NDRRMC for situation reports. These families need more than thoughts and prayers. They need long-term housing. They need mental health support. They need a break from constant disaster. Most of all, they need a world that acknowledges what climate change is doing to vulnerable communities and actually does something about it. I'm Beneath the Depths. Subscribe for more coverage of natural disasters, climate impacts, and the human cost of our changing planet. Stay safe, Cebu. You've been through too much already. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Philippines Natural Disaster Sonnet 4.5